In Egypt, the law against blasphemy is one of the instruments which the government and the Sunni majority use to persecute Egyptian minorities who do not subscribe to Sunni religious views. The most persecuted minorities are Shia, Sufi, Ahmadis, Christians, Baha'i, and atheists. The persecution may involve surveillance, harassment, prolonged detention, mistreatment, torture, and the death penalty. The Constitution. According to the Constitution of Egypt, the state religion is Islam. The foundation of legislation is Sharia. By the Constitution and the 1981 Education Act, religious education is compulsory in public and private schools. Religious education requires that all students be taught verses from the Quran. At the age of 16, every Egyptian must obtain an identity card. The card states one's religion as Muslim, Christian, or other. The card is necessary for most services including banking, schooling, and medical treatment. The court system. Egypt has 3 levels of ordinary criminal courts: the primary, the appeals court, and the court of cassation. Besides the ordinary criminal court, Egypt has an emergency state security court to hear cases about national security, and military tribunals to conduct hearings about terrorism and national security as well as military matters. Martial law. Since 1981, Egypt has had an emergency law, which is renewable every 2 years. In May 2010, the Egyptian government extended the emergency law to May 2012. The emergency law gives authorities the power to restrict many human rights, including freedom of religion or belief as well as freedom of expression, assembly, and association. Under the emergency law, the security forces arbitrarily arrest and detain persons, mistreat them, and torture them. The result of the court's ruling is that crimes regarding religious matters are often found not in the ordinary criminal courts but in other courts. Egyptian and international human rights groups assert that the primary purpose of the emergency state security court and the military courts is to punish political activism and dissent, and to persecute individuals who have unorthodox beliefs or practices. In the emergency or military courts, the accused has no right of appeal but the sentence is subject to confirmation by the president. The president may substitute his decision for a decision by an emergency or a military court. Blasphemy law. Article 98 of the Penal Code, as amended by Law 147/2006, states the penalty for blasphemy and similar crimes: confinement for a period of not less than 6 months and not exceeding 5 years, or a fine of not less than £500 and not exceeding £1,000 shall be the penalty inflicted on whoever makes use of religion, in propagating, either by words, in writing, or in any other means, extreme ideas for the purpose of inciting strife, ridiculing or insulting a heavenly religion or a sect following it, or damaging national unity. The heavenly religions are Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. Sometimes, in place of, or in addition to, blasphemy, the courts hold an accused guilty of incitement to hate Muslims, defaming the President of the Republic, and insulting Islam, by Articles 89 and 110 of Decree Law 78. All Egyptians have the right to file lawsuits against those who have transgressed an exalted right of God. In 1996 or 1998, an amendment to the law required these so-called Hisbah cases to be initiated by the general prosecutor. Those most frequently accused of insulting Islam are scholars, publishers, bloggers, human rights activists, political commentators, novelists, education reformers, professors, theologians, artists, filmmakers, politicians, Muslim liberals and dissidents, members of disfavored religious groups, converts to Christianity, and members of faiths that originated after Islam. From 1985, Al-Azhar University's Islamic Research Council has been an active advisor to the government on religious matters. Publishing a religious book without the IRC's approval is prohibited. The IRC has accused many writers of being blasphemous. The IRC has succeeded in having banned or censored many writings and other forms of expression. On 1 June 2004, Minister of Justice Farouk Saif al-Nasser gave clerics from Al-Azhar University authority to confiscate books and audio and videotapes that they believe violate Islamic precepts. Human Rights Watch notes that the fear of being accused of blasphemy or of insulting Islam has obliged writers in Egypt to censor themselves and has obliged academics to do without intellectual freedom. Find below the case of Nasser Abu Zaid. In May 1998, Didier Monchero, an instructor from France at the American University in Cairo, learned through the press that his use of Maxime Rodinson's biography Muhammad gave offense to the parents of some of his students. President Mubarak ordered that the biography be banned. The university did not renew Monchero's contract. In 2008, the government proposed to enact laws that would prohibit journalists from saying or doing anything that disturbed social peace, national unity, public order, or public values. Selected cases. 2014. On 16 June 2014, Demiana Emad, a 23-year-old teacher in Luxor, was imprisoned for 6 months. It was charged that she had claimed that Pope Shenouda was better than Muhammad, a claim that was flatly denied by the director of the school. 2013. In June 2013, opposition activist Ahmed Dauma was sentenced to 6 months suspended jail sentence for insulting President of Egypt. 2012. In November 2012, 7 Egyptian Christians were sentenced to death for their role in the anti-Muhammad movie Innocence of Muslims. In 2012, the authorities arrested 2 Coptic Christian children for allegedly tearing pages of the Quran. 2010. In March 2010, the authorities arrested 9 Ahmadiyya for insulting Islam. 2009. In April 2009, an Egyptian court cancelled the publishing license of a monthly magazine IBDAA because, in 2007, it had published a blasphemous poem on the balcony of Layla Murad by Hilmi Salem. The court said the poem included expressions that insulted God. Before IBDAA was shut down, a court forced Salem to return a state award for achievement in the arts. Salem had received the award for his entire body of work. The court held that the sin that he committed against God and against society, challenging its traditions and religious beliefs, should fail the sum total of his work, rendering him ineligible for any state honor or prize. 2008. In October 2008, the authorities arrested a blogger, Raider Abdul-Rahman, who was affiliated with a religious group, the Quranist Movement. Rahman's blog called for political and religious reform in Egypt. The authorities charged Rahman with insulting Islam. Rahman spent nearly 3 months in detention. He complained about being physically abused. He was released in January 2009. In September 2008, 6 Christians in Port Said were arrested after local authorities raided their cafe because it remained open during the Muslim fasting period of Ramadan. The 6 were charged with resisting arrest and assaulting authorities, and were sentenced in January 2009 to 3 years in prison. In February 2008, Muslims set fire to Christian-owned shops in the village of Armant in Upper Egypt after reports surfaced of a relationship between a Muslim woman and a Coptic Christian man. Security forces closed shops under a security decree and detained 8 Muslims and 1 Copt, all of whom were subsequently released. 2007. In December 2007, in the Upper Egypt town of Esna, a number of Muslims attacked 1 church and 26 Christian-owned shops. In 2007, Egyptian police arrested Adel Fawzi Fultus and Peter Ezzat, who work for the Canada-based Middle East Christian Association, on the grounds that, in seeking to defend human rights, they had insulted Islam. 2005. On 6 April 2005, Egyptian authorities arrested Bahar el-Din Ahmed Hussein Mohammed el-Akkad, The authorities insinuated that El-Akkad had committed blasphemy but did not specify his crime. An engineer by profession, El-Akkad became a sheikh during more than 20 years as a member of a fundamentalist Islamic group, Tabligh and Dawah. The group was active in proselytizing non-Muslims but strictly opposed violence. El-Akkad has written 2 books, Islam, the Religion, and Islam and Terrorism. The second work, completed in 2005, argues for love, peace, and understanding in an Islamic context. In October 2005, authorities held Abdul Karim Nabil Suleiman for 12 days because of his writings about Islam and about sectarian riots in Alexandria. Al-Azhar University expelled a mayor in March 2006 after its disciplinary board found him guilty of blasphemy against Islam. Well known for his secular views, Amer posted articles on his internet blog about Islam and about the university. The public prosecutor in Alexandria summoned Amer on 7 November 2006. On 18 January 2007, Amer stood trial for incitement to hate Muslims, defaming the President of the Republic, and insulting Islam. On the 22nd of February 2007, a court sentenced Amer to 4 years in prison. Since that time, Amer has been in Borg Al Arab prison and has been subject to mistreatment. In 2005, authorities arrested Bahar al-Akkad, a recent convert to Christianity. The authorities jailed al-Akkad, and repeatedly interrogated him about his insults to Islam. His lawyer was told that al-Akkad was held on suspicion of insulting a heavenly religion. Al-Akkad's detention was renewed every 45 days, until, after 2 years, he was released without explanation. 2001 In 2001, an emergency court sentenced Salaheddin Mohsin, a writer accused of blasphemy, to 3 years in prison with hard labor for writings deemed offensive to Islam. The court also ordered that all of Mohsin's books and publications be confiscated for containing extremist ideas. Mohsin's books promote secular thought. In 2001, a female preacher, Manal Maini, was sentenced to 3 years in prison for atheism and blasphemy. 2008 On 9 May 2000, students at Al-Azhar University in Cairo rioted for 2 days over the publication in Egypt of Feast for Seaweed, a 20-year-old novel by Haider Haider, a Syrian. Officials at the university had told the students the novel was blasphemous. On 9 May 2000, the Committee of the Supreme Council for Culture, a state-appointed committee, concluded that the novel was not blasphemous. Officials at the university reconsidered the novel but insisted it was blasphemous. On 1 July 2000, Mohammed Hassan Ain Hakel, a prominent journalist and former advisor to President Nasser, declared that the furor was a farce. The turmoil subsided. 1993 In 1993, Al-Gamar al-Islamiyya issued a fatwa against the playwright Karim al-Rawi, citing as a reason his defense of Faraj Fouda and stating that the defense of an apostate is proof of apostasy. The fatwa was subsequently withdrawn after the intervention of the Egyptian Organization for Human Rights. 6 months later, al-Rawi was arrested and interrogated by Egyptian state security. He was held without charges. On his release he was told that the state censor had deemed his play City of Peace, about the Sufi poet al-Hallaj, blasphemous and that all his plays for the stage were denied a performance license. 1992 In 1992, Nasser Abu Zaid submitted academic publications to a committee at Cairo University because he wanted to be promoted to the position of full professor. One member of the committee criticized the orthodoxy of Abu Zaid's devotion to Islam. The member said Abu Zaid's writings contained clear affronts to the Islamic faith. On 18 March 1993, Cairo University denied Abu Zaid a full professorship. Rabble-rousers called Abu Zayd an apostate, and threatened him. A lawyer made application to have Abu Zayd divorced from his wife on the ground that a Muslim woman cannot be married to an apostate. The group Egyptian Islamic Jihad called for the killing of Abu Zayd. The police had to protect Abu Zayd if he wanted to go anywhere. On 23 July 1995, Abu Zayd and his wife left Egypt. They settled in the Netherlands. In 1992, Allah Hamd published The Bed. The novel features a scene in which lovers fornicate on a prayer rug. Al-Azhar complained of blasphemy. The public prosecutor prosecuted. An emergency court sentenced Hamd to 1 year in prison. He lost his position as inspector in the Ministry of Tax Authorities. In 1997, Egypt prosecuted Hamd again for Voyage into the Human Mind, a philosophical reflection on faith and atheism. He received a sentence of 1 year. On account of his poor health, Hamd petitioned the Cairo Appeal Court to suspend his sentence. The court released him. On 5 June 2001, the public prosecutor put Hamd on trial because of his book Sadness of Frogs. 1991 In December 1991, an emergency court convicted Allah Hamd for violating Egypt's anti-blasphemy law by publishing The Void in a Man's Mind. In 1990, Al-Azhar University had complained that the novel had atheist and pagan ideas. The public prosecutor contended that Hamd's novel was a serious threat to the fundamental beliefs of Egyptian society and, in particular, those connected with the person of God Most Almighty and the heavenly religions. Representing an incitement to atheism and apostasy, the court sentenced Hamd to 8 years imprisonment. The court convicted Hamd's publisher, Muhammad Madbouli, and Hamd's printer, Fathi Fadl, of abetting Hamd's crime, but the president or the prime minister set aside all the sentences. Hamd was in jail for several months as he awaited the trial. Madbouli was detained for 4 days before he appeared in court. Over his lifetime, Madbouli appeared in court on 24 matters related to his publishing of provocative books. 1990 In 1990, Al-Azhar University succeeded in having banned Faraj Fodder's book To Be or Not to Be. Fodder was an outspoken critic of the repression by Islamic authorities in Egypt. Those authorities orchestrated a vicious campaign of lies to discredit and ruin Fodder, but Fodder persisted in his criticism. On 3 June 1992, a group of scholars at Al-Azhar issued a communiqué which accused Fodder of blasphemy. 5 days later, 2 assassins from the group Al-Gamma al-Islamiyya shot Fodder dead and wounded his son and several bystanders. Al-Azhar's Sheikh Muhammad al-Ghazali had previously declared Fodder an apostate, and said that Islamic law justified his killing. Al-Gamma al-Islamiyya accepted responsibility for the murder. The group declared, Al-Azhar issued the sentence and we carried out the execution. 1959 In 1959, officials at Al-Azhar University succeeded in having banned from Egypt Children of Gebelawi, a novel by Naguib Mahfouz, an Egyptian writer. The officials said the novel was blasphemous. In 1994, Islamic extremists attacked the 82-year-old, Nobel Prize-winning Mahfouz outside his Cairo home. The attackers stabbed Mahfouz in the neck. He survived but with permanent damage to the nerves in his right arm. Mahfouz's novel was not published again in Egypt until 2006, the year of Mahfouz's death.